Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining today. I'm so excited to do this with you. We are talking about the non-sales sales approach, and we are with Arielle Cohen, who is the expert. So I'm going to intro exactly who Arielle is, but first we're going to just ask everyone to mute your lines. And just so that you know that you can use the chat to ask questions. We'll try to answer questions at the end, but if you happen to not get your question answered, reach out to Arielle on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. So lots of places to connect after this. We can continue the conversation. Use your react button whenever you like something that's being said. So the clap or the heart. I think using those reactions are super fun and interactive. So remember to use them as well. And let's have a good time with this. So I want to tell you about Arielle because this is an amazing person who literally has created the most kick-ass things I've seen. This is just a taste of some of the really cool projects that Arielle has conceived, and literally one of the most creative solution-based people I've ever met. And so this is like bringing in a whole new perspective on what a brand can provide and really what a brand can become. So let's go into how Arielle is connected to us. So Arielle is a core leader of the Co. And what that is, so core leader is a creative director for our projects and manages that hand in hand with clients to transform all of their visions. So as leaders, we activate conversations and we build unique teams for each project. This is how we do our management, and then we also mentor all of the members, and we're really the backbone of the Co. And we love having Arielle as a core leader, does an exceptional job. And at the end of it, we're all team builders, creative leads, and industry experts. Also, we're always looking and scouting for new core leaders. So if you happen to be an early adopter and you work professionally in the industry of creative freelancing, reach out to us. Love to have a conversation with you. So let me tell you more about the Co and some of our offerings. So you can sign up, Yeli and I. So Yeli is here, and we're the co-founders, and we are always trying to connect with other creative freelancers because we just know how difficult it is to be a professional creative, and we're trying to empower and lift each other up. And there's a lot more to talk about. So you can check out our website and also reach out to us to have a one-on-one. I'd love to talk to you. Another way that you can connect with us is to hire us for projects. And those projects are for all of your creative needs and super diverse. We really like to be flexible and agile for you and come up with out-of-the-box creative services. So that is another thing you can check out. So we do these events all the time, and we're excited to tell you about our next upcoming event, which is for members. One of the benefits of being a member is that you get to come to all of these member-only events, and one of them is called Co-working Wins, and this is how we talk about all of our collaborative experiences, how we're winning in the freelance world, and really trying to hone our skills together. Another event that we have that's actually bi-monthly, so it's every other Monday, is creative networking. And creative networking is where you learn how to pitch yourself creatively, which I think is a really fun thing to do. So it's a whole new way to talk about yourself, talk about your services. Every single week we have a theme and then prompts to go along with the theme, and we just have fun with it and be silly. And we really like to think about ourselves differently, and it's also a memorable way to connect. So that's enough about all of this. I really want to get Arielle started. We've waited so long for this in anticipation, and let's do it. So feel free to share your screen and I will spotlight you. And
sharing my, okay, here we go. I'm just entering full screen mode. Okay. Is that, no, this one. Okay. Can everyone see me? Hold on. Because now everyone's muted and I feel like I'm talking to no one.
I spotlight you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and I see the presentation.
Okay, great. So I guess, you know what I am? I'm gonna hide everyone's face. So just like shout at me if I should stop. First of all, thank you, Dre. That was the sweetest introduction that I've ever had. When you're talking, I was like, oh my God, is that me you're talking about? That's so sweet. But I've loved working with the Co and you and Yeli. So thank you guys for inviting me in, and thank you for creating this community. You know, it's been awesome. We have some great projects going on right now that I'm leading with some of the members. So looking forward to many more. Today, I'm talking about the art of the non-sales sales approach. And now, I don't even really like the word sales. I've never considered myself a salesperson, which sounds crazy because I've been a career salesperson. However, what I know makes me different, and what even my own clients have told me, is that I'm not a real salesperson. And what that means to me is, first of all, it's the best compliment, but secondly is that they don't ever feel like they're being sold to, which is the number one most important thing when you, whether it's for yourself or for another company, when you are trying to form a relationship to ultimately get someone to invest in your services. Beyond the services, you're truly getting them to invest in you. And that's the goal, because if you are working for another company, the best thing that could happen is that the clients are so invested in you, they then follow you to other, you know, wherever you go. And that's how you start building your book of business. Ooh, sorry about that. The most powerful thing you can have as a small business owner, entrepreneur, or even a salesperson within another industry is this book of business and your contacts. So it is, I think, you know, the first thing for me that I knew even in college, before I even had a full job, was that I had to be passionate about whatever field that I was going to get involved in. And as a salesperson, I'm going to keep on using air quotes because I really don't think of myself as a salesperson. Sorry, I just got distracted. The biggest thing about being a salesperson is, like I said, I totally just got distracted. I'm so sorry. Okay, building relationships. It's relationship building. It's the same thing as building a friendship, building or getting to know anyone really. So within this deck, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about me. Oh, hello. It was the passion thing I was talking about. So one of the things that, like, the very first seeds of that started me on this road to being a salesperson, like I said, was the passion. And I think that separates a lot of people. When you hear sales, the immediate, I guess, connotation is that you're just like selling a thing. A lot of people forget that services, design, more abstract things, technology services, service-based sales is a whole different beast, really. And the art of getting people to trust you enough to then give you money to embark on this journey of these abstract things you can't really quantify is a really tricky thing, especially for freelancers or small business owners, where you're wearing so many hats that to put your salesperson hat on and then stop, put your project manager, your designer, you have to be very mentally just multifaceted, really. But with the passion aspect, I think I can speak hopefully for everyone. The fact that you are on the path that you are already within the co means that you're following your passion. For me personally, one of the things about me is that I ended up being a fine art major in college, which was a little bit totally out of left field. I never considered myself creative. I was never an artist, but I'd always been visual. And I'd always actually worked in retail, for just side money because I really liked interacting with people. And I always loved the visuals. So with that, it was something that it kind of naturally, I gravitated towards just art and visuals and visual communication, not really knowing what that would do for me after school. But I also came to the realization that art versus English versus a sociology major, what are you going to do with any of that? I'll figure it out. So following your passion, definitely from the beginning, I think in terms of what you are selling, is the biggest thing that I would be an advocate for, because that passion, that energy, it does come out down the line. And that's something of being a salesperson. Oh, wait, I'm not going to go there. Being a salesperson, I've said like, why I don't think I'm a salesperson is because I couldn't just sell anything. I couldn't sell fidget spinners for the rest of my life. Like, I knew that it has to be something I truly believe in. And with my clients, one of the things that they, from a trust perspective, why they really enjoy working with me is that I will tell them often, like if we're discussing something and they come to me with an idea that they want to do, and I don't think that it aligns with their larger vision or campaign, I will tell them not to do it, which the average salesperson would be like, you're crazy. Why are you turning down business? You're turning down money in your own pocket. But why am I going to do that just for that one job, when if I'm more honest with them and say, you know what, save that money, save that budget, we can do so much better down the line. They really, it's pretty shocking to them. Honestly, I've gotten a lot of reactions that are just like, wow, no one's ever told me that before. And that's one of the things that starts to help build that relationship, that larger relationship, where they're seeing you more as an ally and as an extension of their team than just a vendor, just a service provider. So I had about a 10-year career, mostly for other agencies, always as an account executive, business development, a salesperson. Essentially, my job was to generate new business out of thin air. And I will also tell you, I mean, my first sales job, I walked in and they showed me where my desk was. They said, here's the phone, go. And I was like petrified. I had no idea what to do. And especially I remember this was actually, I was in an open floor plan office. So I was having like full anxiety attacks thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to be on the phone and try and like get meetings and everyone's going to be listening to me. I was totally psyching myself out. But anyway, when working for all these other people and finding success, I got to the point where certain things in terms of how other people were running their business or just the team dynamic, it just wasn't working for me anymore. And I ended up falling into starting my own company, which is Bodega Bunnies. And the whole idea behind Bodega Bunnies is, for me, I'm really not a person that can only do one thing or want to ever do one thing. I get bored easily, and I love kind of the stimulation of being able to, one day I'm working on, a brand visual identity. The next I'm working on an event. The next it's more about, a launch strategy for a company, because I'm able to really, borrow from each one of the conversations. And I just think you never know where inspiration is going to come from. Even though, I used to, my friends and family were still not happy about this, but my brain really is never off. I don't ever think of myself as, some people are like, oh, I'm always on. That's kind of like me, just because I cannot turn my brain off. And even when I'm scrolling on Instagram or we're walking down the street, I'm constantly taking pictures of things, just because I'm always reminded of like, oh, I should save that for a project. I should, just like bookmarking things. And that goes back to the passion aspect, that you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to love what you're doing. Whether you're a copywriter, whether you're a strategist or a graphic designer, if you start getting to that place in your career where it just feels like it's draining your own energy and you're not passionate about it, then something's got to change. And me being an art major, my concentration was actually photography, and at the time they called it computer design, but graphic design. And I graduated over 10 years ago, even though I look 15. But at that time, I had been out of the Adobe programs for over 10 years. And in my line of work, obviously, I was working with a lot of designers, and it got to the point that I felt not only super burned out, but I was really lacking inspiration, that I wanted to be able to go into the programs and really re-spark my own creativity, find that passion for myself. And I say that where I actually ended up walking away from the company that I was working for in New York. I had been with them for 6 years. Not only that, I ended up moving cross country to LA, where at the time, looking down on paper, you would say like, why would you ever do that? I was very comfortable at the company. I had risen to the ranks where I had a full team underneath me. I'd built out the design department, and I could have very easily stayed in that position, but I was just feeling really uninspired. And while I was doing work, like Drea said, and showed some of those photos, like the work that I was doing, I loved, but there was just something that wasn't working anymore. And I had to kind of pause and soul search a little bit to find, what am I missing here? And I realized that I was really missing my own creative outlets. So I went back and I took some continuing education classes. I did a whole re-up on Illustrator, a whole re-up on Photoshop. And after that time, I fell into starting my own company, which is Bodega Bunnies. And the whole business model really is just an all-encompassing creative studio. Boutique, I don't like to use the word agency, where the namesake comes from. I'm from New York City originally, as you saw on the first slide. And that kind of quick convenience, only having the essentials, but everyone has their favorite place to go, bodega, corner store, deli, that's so synonymous with New York, as well as the just quick, clever wit and sometimes cuteness of a bunny. That's where Bodega Bunnies came from. It also is just different. So I get a lot of comments from other people, from other agencies. I will say part of me was like, is that too, am I skewing too cutesy? But the reality is it's a conversation starter. So just that to me is like, I have my my best foot forward, just that I'm able to kind of start a conversation with people more than just trying to be, just like everybody else, and those kind of more just like corporate agencies. So, warning, this is about to get very, very hot creative here. But in my own business model, I am able to pull my background, which beyond strategy is rooted in production. the agency I was working with, we were print vendors first and foremost. So we were designing, our design department had to work really, really hand in hand with production. So I've realized that it's quite rare that graphic designers, when you're doing brand identity or visual, that the print knowledge is there as well. It comes with experience, of course, but having that understanding, especially me, that I'm not even a designer, the fact that I understand both the production as well as the design process, I'm able to straddle a line that definitely is unique for people in our industry. And I think that's one of the things when I first reconnected with Yelly and Drea that was a draw for them. The fact that I am able to speak to those things and I have some of that wherewithal, because as designers, as creatives, I think sometimes we get so bogged down with obviously the aesthetics of things, forgets the reality. So having that production knowledge, it's great. Strategies, clients love to be able to, really talk through those things. Oh, wait. This is just going back more into who we are. And I promise I'll get to the non-sales approach, but just sharing more about how I got tripped back up with the co. In starting my own thing, and this goes back to the passion, I really wanted to make sure that the business model I had revolved around things I truly believed in. Anyone else that's been in agency environments, whether it's advertising, marketing, can tell you that the environment can be somewhat political, and especially in larger companies, when there are so many different departments, a lot of times you'll hear like, that's not my job. I'm sticking to my lane. That's all they do. And I just don't think that that's conducive to actually being able to come up with the best result that ultimately serves the clients the best. Forget about the politics, forget about the titles. The word creative director, the title creative director, I've seen comes with a lot of different connotations, because in some they're like, oh, creative director just has a high salary, but they're not actually doing anything. When some of us as creative directors, we know just how much we do. But in starting Bodega Bunnies, I really wanted to create an environment that I surrounded myself with like-minded people, hardworking, clever, eclectic, come from different backgrounds, passionate more than anything. And that the work was bringing out the best versions of ourselves. Part of the reason why I left the company I was with in New York was that I just recognized I was not being my best self at all. I certainly wasn't being my best self to my family. If they're watching, they'll laugh. But I was just always stressed out, very short. And this goes back to like from a sales perspective, business development perspective, and I'll get more into this, but this is so much more than just a job. This is so much more than just bringing in income. And I truly believe for you to be the most successful, your core values, your beliefs need to align with what you're doing. Otherwise, beyond it just being a job, you're not going to be happy. And I think especially with COVID, that like, what am I doing? What is happiness? Work-life balance conversation has definitely been more, discussed than it ever has before. But it's true when, I think that does breed the most success is when you're able to surround yourself with other people that have that same passion and you yourself are staying true to what you actually believe in. Collaboration was one of those key things for me. So when I saw what Yelly was doing in terms of creating the co, it was like, it was this major moment because I was just a few months into starting Bodega Bunnies. COVID hadn't happened yet, but, switching to now working from home, mostly remotely on the computer. The thing I missed most was being in a design studio and being able to have quick kind of creative powwows. Those little pocket meetings to quickly share a design, get feedback, have a back and forth. The best designs come through collaboration, no doubt, because just that riffing off on each other, that energy. So when the co started, I was ecstatic. I was so happy to join in, which at this point it was just a Slack workspace, but just having that outlet to connect with other creatives and share, hey, I'm working on this pitch. What do you think of this? Or, people would share different copy just to, it was really just energizing, truly. So coming to the co, it just was a natural fit. As Drea mentioned, pretty, multifaceted in terms of what I do with projects and with clients. And this just goes back to knowing how I personally need to operate in order to feel fulfilled. And that's doing a little bit of different things every day. But ultimately, they all kind of lather up to one same stream of creative strategy. The biggest thing I would say is, even with marketing, everything comes back to relationship. Whether you're doing a visual identity, whether you're doing a marketing campaign, the relationship between a consumer and a brand, a nonprofit and their donors, and even the relationship of a vendor, a sales, or a service-based business and the client, it all comes back to how do we make the other person feel? And with that, it is time to hop to it as we get more into the meat of this, the non-sales sales approach. So this presentation is really just to give some helpful tips. There's so much more I can say about all of this. I actually really geek out on sharing just kind of little tips and tricks that I found along the way, because it's truly, most of this is psychology. And just thinking how would I like to be treated if I was a consumer? So the first thing is, this is what people think sales is. If anyone recognizes this character from the movie Matilda, it's a used car salesman kind of slinging everything and just doing everything to get the sale. And that's why I really don't like the word sales. But what sales actually is so much more. It really is about building an authentic relationship. It's going into it knowing, just like any relationship in your life, trust takes time to build, and building that rapport is going to come it comes with many different interactions. It is not going to be an overnight thing. And I think you have to go into it recognizing that. Now that I am, working for myself, recognizing that, yes, time is the most valuable resource. So being really cognizant of where you're spending your time. You obviously can't be on the phone with a client, chit-chatting back and forth for hours, because every hour that you're chatting, and every non-billable hour, it's money that's being lost. However, I do really believe that there's a way that you can have best of both worlds, and you can still build a rapport. And then when building that rapport, instead of charging them by the hour, which just rubs a lot of clients the wrong way, and I have many thoughts on that, you are building a larger trust in them that's going to inevitably allow them to agree to higher price points more easily. So while some people may look at it like, oh, you're spending an hour, you already had an intro meeting with that person, but then you just spent another hour on the phone with them, that's, you need to charge them. It goes back to quantifying that client. What are you talking about? If you're talking about an $100, I don't know who's charging $100, but if you're talking about a really small intro project and the conversation just to get to the point of agreement is taking 3, 4, 5 hours, does that make sense? No. But if it's a much larger, full website build or full branding suite, and the client's really just not sure and they want to make sure that they connect with you before signing on, step back for a second and realize that, okay, is my time spending this 30 minutes to an hour, is this time well spent, to really make sure that they're comfortable, but also keep in mind, just as a client is vetting you as a service provider, you are vetting them. And I think that's the real, like one of the most important things to remember when you're, kind of out there cold calling or trying to create new relationships, is this is a mutually beneficial relationship. And if you shift your mindset that you are truly just trying to find puzzle pieces that fit for what you've created, I think it really takes the power away from making this, kind of sales conversation so scary, and that it's a power dynamic that you're asking them to bestow their time upon you, and that you're lucky that they're squeezing you in. Obviously there are different roles, but you have something that they can benefit from. So you reaching out to them is purely just a benefit to them. So building that relationship really is everything that I'm going to talk about. It comes back to that. So in outreach and cold calls, they can be scary. And I mentioned that story when I first, I was shown the phone and my desk, and here you go. And I also want to call out that cold calls, they're not comfortable for anyone. And I'm using the word cold calls, but of course, cold outreach in the form of an email or what have you, they're not comfortable for anybody. And they really do take practice. So if this is something, if the thought makes you cringe, I just want to let you know you're not alone. That's very natural. I was petrified in the beginning. I would go into the bathroom at work and practice what I was going to say and almost rile myself up even more. When, with practice, you get more comfortable on the phone. And now I'm at the point where truly I would much prefer to pick up the phone and call a client to get an answer or talk something through than email. And I've seen, some of my freelancer friends struggle with this, especially designers, when there's something about, I guess, graphic designers' personalities where we're sitting behind the computer all day. So it is more natural to write an email. However, so much gets lost in email. The tone of your voice, the true, the intention behind what you're saying. So here are some tips I like to remember when getting on the phone with a client. The first is conversation starters. If you're planning to reach out to someone on a phone call, on an email, what have you, the first thing that you really want to do is research the person as well as the company, but more so that specific person prior to reaching out to them, and find some nuggets of information that genuinely speak to you, that you think are interesting and you could use to spark a conversation. Oftentimes, I'm sure we all get a million of these emails that are just straight like sales churn and burn emails. I'd like to set up a conversation with you. I have these web services. I skip over those emails because it's just a copy and paste. There's no personality behind it. And how do you stick out in a sea of those types of emails? Well, it's by writing something more thoughtful and specific to that individual person. If there's any bit of feeling that it's a copy and paste situation, right away you've kind of lost, because then they start feeling like part of the herd instead of like a special person that you're specifically reaching out to. I'll give an example that I was at, it was the Girl Boss rally actually in LA. I don't know if you're familiar, but that kind of all day panel, there were different marketing panels. And one person, she was the director of marketing from Y7 Yoga. And I don't know if anyone used to go there, but I used to go there all the time. Love them. I loved their messaging. I just thought as a brand that they did a great job. And I really, really resonated with a lot of what the marketing person was saying on the panel that she was speaking on. So after that, it truly, I was thinking about it and I was like, I have to reach out to her. I just of course, the ultimate goal being that I want to do some work with Y7, but her specifically, I wanted to reach out to. So I did, the internet is your best friend. I did some digging. I already knew her full name. So from the panel, so I actually reached out, I figured out her email, reached out with an email, and didn't ask about, it was not really work related in terms of, setting a meeting. It was purely a message of, hey, I was in the audience at the Girl Boss rally. I heard you talk, and I really, some of what you said really resonated with me specifically. And then I, mentioned a specific part because I was taking notes during the panel. And I like to say, shoot your shot. The worst thing that happens, you don't get an answer. Okay, great. Go on about your day. But the best thing that happens is that they respond to you and you start a conversation, which is amazing. You have nothing to lose. And what ended up happening with that is she responded to me. And we actually have been in conversation for the past year. We're still trying to find the right project to work on together, but just having that relationship, we're in the relationship building phase. And I have full confidence that when the time is right, when the project is right, that, she has said to me point blank, I want to work with you. I want to find something to work with you on. Let's keep in touch to find that opportunity. To me, I take that as a huge win. And I think that quantifying what success means in the world of sales and business development is really important. That success could mean just getting a reply back. It could mean someone answering the phone and saying, oh, you know what, send me your capabilities deck. That sounds really great. I think, again, going into this, knowing that it's going to be multiple interactions, really to then get to that final sale of them entrusting you to, fork over, especially larger price point items. Building trust is a process. Building relationship is a process. So conversation starters, this goes back to also be genuine, be yourself. But you would be surprised with the type of responses that you will get if you reach out and really just share something about them or their company that spoke to you, because it also makes them feel good. So that's some advice on the initial cold call. But also, if, everyone has an elevator pitch. I mean, I'm messing up some things right now as I'm talking, but roll with the punches. Again, the first, couple years that I had to cold call, I would get so nervous and I would trip over my words. I would feel my face get hot and just like, the nerves in my stomach. But now I just got to a point where it's like, we're all human. And if you kind of trip over your words or you mess up your little elevator pitch, just go with it and like lean into it. Sometimes if I'm on the phone and I'm totally cold call out of the blue and the person answers and I'm like, hi, I'm Arielle. Hold on. You can tell I haven't had enough coffee yet. Let me start over. Hi, I'm calling because XYZ. And I think that just really helps disarm the situation and also kind of helps just humanize that interaction that we're all human. At the end of the day, it's simply just a conversation. So it's kind of like, if you're walking into a room and you fall in front of a bunch of people, which is like, it's totally embarrassing. We all get embarrassed by that. But you can either laugh it off and get up and look around and be like, that was embarrassing. Or you can, freak out and like run into the bathroom and cry about it. The former obviously just helps it pass a lot easier. So roll with the punches. Don't be so hard on yourself. And guess what? If it goes terribly, you never have to speak to that person again. Great. They hung up on you. Okay. It wasn't a good fit. They're not part of your puzzle. Move on. So don't beat yourself up about that kind of stuff. And just remember that, you're calling because you have value to add for them. The great thing about creative services is that literally every company needs them, whether you're a law firm or the coolest brand ever, nonprofit. everyone needs creative services. So, and brands are a living and breathing thing. So although they may have their full identity suite, every so often, you know that they're going to rebrand. So paying attention to what's happening, not only in the industry, but also within, certain companies. If they announce that they're rebranding, or you see that they, oftentimes if a new creative director of a company's announced, those kind of changeovers signal to me, okay, it's a changing of the guards. They may be more open to starting to work with new companies or new strategic partners. So think about things kind of from a top down view, if you can, where it's not so specific to only like, I only am providing copywriting. No, that is part of a much larger story that you can really bring value to them. So the next thing, no one likes a pushy patty. I think we can all agree here. When you walk into a store, the worst thing that happens is when the sales associate right away is like, oh, can I help you something? Oh, you want me to put that in a dressing room? For me, at least, I'm like, no. And actually it makes me want to get out of there. So the other ones that I like, and I am a sucker for a good salesperson, I'll tell you. If they leave me alone a little bit and then kind of naturally graze over, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, those shoes are cute. Right away, disarming me. We start chit-chatting before she's like, oh, do you know, we just got these new bracelets in. I'm like, oh, okay, I like those. All right, now I'm telling everyone just how to make me spend money. But it is just, the pushiness, not good. This goes back to building a rapport. So in terms of the pushiness, no one wants to feel that they're being pushed into buying something from you. Or if you're pushing them too hard, you're pushing them to make a decision, you're pushing them that, you're going to be unavailable unless they sign the contract by tomorrow at 2:00, what have you. It's just really going to turn them off. Where so much better are some of these tips, where before selling anything, before selling a service, you really want to lay the foundation of getting to know the person behind the title. And I say that meaning people, especially with certain brands or higher up in the company, you have to remember that people approach them all the time. So when someone calls, hi, I'm calling from a design studio, you have to expect that they're getting that type of call many times a day. So what are the things that you can do to make yourself not only stand out, but going back to that puzzle piece analogy, what's something that will make you look more attractive or seem more attractive as a partner for their company than the other person? Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this too. All of this, like I'm guilty of all of this. That's why I'm sharing these tips, because I've done all of them. That putting the hard press on someone, or even like taking the approach of, oh, can you squeeze in 15 minutes or this, or it disrupts that power balance where, like I said, if you treat it more that you're getting to know that person, then people buy from who they like, and building that trust. And when I say that, I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, probably thousands of companies that do what I do, design or, marketing strategy, brand strategy, all of those things. But what they don't have is me. I'm me. You are you. I say that in meaning, you are the secret sauce. So when you find someone that you click with, they're buying from you because of the way you go about it, your workflow process, the way you make them feel. So in getting to know someone, or that's why getting to know someone is super important. This also helps to set the pace that they will follow you past what the company you're currently working for. The best is when they leave a company, then they go to a new company and bring you with them in terms of the vendor that they want to work with. It just is hugely powerful. So getting to know the person, it's also, I think, taking the relationship kind of outside of work, if you will, is also something that it brings you closer, where building that trust kind of makes it so they don't want to go anywhere else. They don't even want to entertain or look for additional designers or copywriters or what have you, because they only trust you and they only want to work with you. And I say that of like, if you, from the earlier conversation of, conversation starters, if you realize that you both like going to the same spin class, go to a class together one night. Or I guess not COVID, but you know what I mean? If you are talking about you have this book, she's like, oh, I really want to read it. Offer to let them borrow it after you're done or something. I say just, these are things that I think are more, it's, you want to be careful. There's a fine line to walk. Like, yes, these aren't your like best friends, but it's similar that I think if you do genuinely click with someone, take it outside the office. And that's really where you can get to know them better. And also getting to know someone's personality better, for me, helps also tell me how to deliver certain information to them. I know with my clients who's better on a phone call versus who's better wants to see everything written out in an email first to then talk about it. Some, like the person that wants to see more options versus someone that only wants to see 2 options, because otherwise they'll get overwhelmed. And knowing these nuances for each individual person, I also think is one of the kind of the art of selling, is that you have to be flexible. You have to be able to bend to work with them. That's not to say that you have to, do everything in their way, but just know that you, of course, have a workflow process. And while they are coming to you, and it's your responsibility to remind them you are the professional in certain things, clients are going to always try and circumvent certain things, but there needs to be a happy medium where you're able to kind of, bend in some ways just to make it just a better process for all involved. And the last thing is also be genuine. So this goes back to like being yourself and valuing yourself. When I say be genuine, I'm someone that I can't help myself that if I see something that reminds me of someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to tell this person about it. Or, we were just talking about something that this, my favorite chocolate bar is this, and you can only get it at, so many places. If I happen to be at that place, I'll buy the chocolate bar and just, drop by or mail it to them. And those little things, you would be surprised how much of a difference that makes. And it doesn't even have to be physical items, purely just remembering certain facts about their personal life. If they mention in passing that, oh, they can't this weekend, they're dropping their son off to college, it's their first kid, leaving school, and just, oh, where do they go? Just go that extra mile to ask those things, because it really means a lot that then, a couple weeks later, oh, how's your son doing in college, by the way? Or you remembering those kind of personal details about them really sticks out to them as different. So I say go out of your way to make the extra effort, even things like a thoughtful card on a birthday, just things that, you would do. Like I said, like if you would do that for like a close friend, and it's someone, you don't do this for everyone, of course, but like clients that you're really building a nice connection with, it goes such a long way. With that, while there are tons of great clients that you may be building a rapport with, don't try and shove a square peg in a round hole. And I say that in, we were actually just talking about this in our Slack channel the other day of, with clients, because this is a mutually beneficial relationship, the power of no will make you feel like, it may feel weird in the beginning, but being able to find that within you to know when something isn't working, don't be afraid to let them go. And I say that of like operating from a place of abundance. And this sounds a little woo woo, but seriously, if your mindset is operating from a place of abundance, knowing, you know what, this is not a good fit. And I would rather spend my time reaching out to other clients and finding someone that really, you know, it's a much better fit and it just flows, the work flows a lot easier. I guarantee you that you'll not only find another client to replace that income, you'll probably find someone that's going to spend more money with you too. For some reason, the most difficult clients often are the ones that are like want to cut corners. But value yourself more than any dollar amount. And when I say that, I mean, if it feels bad, and there are red flags from the start, those, you have to trust your intuition and trust your gut that this may not be a good fit long term. Because if you're from the beginning, you're kind of setting the boundaries and setting the foundation for what that relationship will be moving forward. If from the very beginning, this is someone that is ultra demanding, they're making you, you know, revise proposals 4, 5, 6 times when you've talked about it so many times already, and it just seems like they're not ready to commit, there's nothing wrong with raising your hand or saying, hey, can we jump on a call and just say, you know, it just seems like we're not really aligned, or that I may not be the best fit for this project. I'd love to point you in a different direction of someone that I think could be helpful to you. Or I've even, I mean, you know, when certain clients are asking for things that they only want to spend $50 to $100 on, I'll send them to Fiverr, you know. There's of course a way to leave them off, you know, hand them off. That's not rude and you still want to be professional. But one of my friends, she has her own creative studio. She had me kind of step in and give her some advice because she came to me and she was having a really, really tough time with a client that she had done a lot of work for them, a full branding suite. She had delivered everything. But then the client, weeks and months after, kept coming back to her to ask for different iterations of things she had already delivered. And she didn't know how to say no. So she did it again, and she kept doing it. And she came to me saying, you know, Arielle, this client, so-and-so, they keep asking me to do it. And then they get like snippy with me if I say I can't do it right now or this. And you know what, that's okay, but you have to set the boundary and you have to stand up for yourself. Where I coached her kind of what to say, she made the mistake of writing all of this in an email and sending it off. No go. That is not the right thing to do, because I say, like, from a respect what you're saying standpoint, if you were to ask them to jump on the phone and explain it, it's going to be, that information is going to be received 10 times better, I can guarantee you, than if they were to read it in an email. Because again, the connotation, everyone can put their own spin on what they think the meaning behind words written down on a piece of paper are. But if they hear it in your voice of like, you know, hey, this also goes back to being genuine. If they hear it in your voice that, you know, I've really enjoyed working with you, but right now I have some other commitments on my plate and I just don't think I'm the right fit for this project right now. However, you know, I'm more than happy to connect you with a few other people that may be a better fit for your needs. And instead of just feeling like you're giving them the cold shoulder, that I've done that many times and it's been received well. What clients don't like is feeling like you're leaving them in a bind. So if it's something that, you know, if it's an event, for example, and it's, you know, it's only 2 weeks away and you've been talking to them up until this point, you simply cannot then just leave them high and dry without providing them like a confirmed solution. Because what happens is if you say, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore, then they turn it on you of like, well, what do you mean? We've been talking for all this time. How can, you know, I have my event. How can you do this to me? And that's just absolutely what you do not want, because a client scorned, you know, the industry is quite small. So you just don't ever want to leave someone in a position that they could potentially badmouth you. But if you're leaving things off on a good note, you will feel so much lighter and freer to have let that go. And although it does seem scary to essentially let income go, I do, trust me, you have to believe, like, and I believe in all of you. I know, I've interacted with a lot of you. The quality of your work is fantastic. So you have to believe that there are clients out there that would be such a better fit, and that will pay you appropriately. They won't nickel and dime you. So just operate from a place of abundance. That's like a big thing, and put the effort in, because you really never know what interactions will spark or trickle, something else. I say that in meaning, like you may have a conversation with someone, and then they may then have a separate conversation. Their friend mentions that they're looking for someone that does copywriting, and now you've already planted seeds with it in them. You've gotten to know them. You've had great conversation. They're going to then refer their friend to you, because you've started setting that foundation, and on a more kind of personal level, you're clicking with them. So the last thing really is, above all else, remember that clients and relationships require nurturing. They're living, breathing things. So even if you aren't doing a project with them, but maybe you've done a project with them in the past, or you've had great conversation, remember to check in every so often and just say, hey, if you see an article that reminds you of something that you guys have talked about previously, shoot them a quick email with the link to the article and say, hey, saw this, just thought of you, hope all is well. No intent, or no, there's no ulterior motive of that, besides just like kind of reminding them that, hey, you're here. Those little things are so powerful to just keep you personally top of mind. So when they do get something across their desk, when they do get a project, you're the first name that they think of. And again, you want to be genuine about this, but I am someone, like, if you can tell, like by my board behind me, I love little tchotchkes and things. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is a little extra. I went on my way, but for Valentine's Day, I always love doing something special for my clients, or even just my friends, because to me, it's a time when it's so unexpected. We're coming off of holiday, usually around December, January. Clients are getting inundated with gifts and thank you cards, and it's the whole end of year wrap up. But very soon after that, in February, for Valentine's Day, which is typically like, reserved for more romantic things, it comes totally out of left field. If you are to, beyond wishing them a happy Valentine's Day, do something really simple, where I've dropped off, little goodie bags of candy. This year I sent out a little plastic cube with Hershey Kisses in it, and a Valentine's Day poem, on a heart tag. And when clients receive it, the reaction they get is like, this is so thoughtful. Oh my God, thank you. And it's those little things that, although, I'm wanting to stay top of mind, it just shows them your character. It shows them, kind of a taste of the things that they can experience in working with you. So just remember that it does. Things take time. Ask yourself, what are the things that make you unique? If you do little drawings, how cute would it be to just, for some, holiday, or if their birthday's coming up, draw them a sketch and send it to them in the mail. How unexpected would that be for them to receive it? Just, be you, have faith, and more than anything, also, like, I'm here as a resource. So if you haven't introduced yourself to me within the please message me. I'm always down to have a one-on-one. You can book a time to chat with me for an intro call on my Calendly, which the link to that is on my website. But truly, I'm always here to kind of give some advice or give you my thoughts. So by all means, reach out. And that is the end of my tips and tricks. So I would love to answer any questions if there are any.
Great job.
Should I stop my share?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll just have a conversation now. That was awesome. Learned so much and also was reminded of a lot too, so that, it's those things that are not always top of mind, but they're so effective. And anyone that has any questions would be happy to answer a few. And remember, you can always continue this conversation on LinkedIn or Facebook. You could check out the Facebook Live, maybe take some notes, rewatch it, share it to a friend. I think everyone had a really great time. There was some awesome comments. So let's go through some of the highlights of just what I felt people had great things to say. So Sarah said, as a business consultant, said to me to learn how to say no to potential clients that already are prepared to work with you versus someone who needs some time to think about it. Did you hear that?
Sorry, say that again. I was reading a different message.
Oh, so Sarah is saying a business consultant said to learn how to say no to potential clients that aren't prepared to work with you, that are prepared to work with you versus someone who needs some time to think about it.
What to do, or that they just shared that information?
So yeah, just a tip of advice is to say no to potential clients that
Totally.
just
And
aren't ready.
absolutely. And something that my dad always says to me is, you want a quick no. The worst thing that someone can say to you actually is maybe, because they're stringing you along. So a quick no is like you're after that, so then you can move on as well, instead of thinking, okay, I've got to, he said check back with me in a few months, okay, this, and it's just stringing you along where saying no really is something that it takes practice. It feels kind of unnatural, especially when you're working for yourself or in a sales position. But it's really a game changer. And the thing, I was told this at my first sales job, and I love to say that like attracts like. So this goes back to like the puzzle piece thing, and just, letting someone go if it's not the right fit. You're like attracts like, meaning you want to attract people that feel similarly in wanting to get the work done. They're serious about the project, and trusting that you will attract your like if you're operating from that place. And saying no to those clients that aren't quite ready, just kind of moving them out of the way so then you can make room for others that are, is a much better use of your time.
Yeah, that definitely is. On Clubhouse, I heard a really great LinkedIn tip, and they're saying not to do the cold DMs. So just throw that tactic away. People are oversaturating it, and it's not really putting yourself in the best light because it is very superficial copy paste, like what you were saying. But the tip to do instead of the cold DMs is to start external conversations. So put a focus on a post and starting conversations there and having people gain their trust with you in a public setting. And then if they connect in the comments or there's some sort of conversation started externally, then bring it to DM, and that rapport is already started. So they're much more likely to continue the conversation in a one-on-one DM rather than starting there. That's almost like rushing it, and to instead tactfully start it publicly. And I thought that was really smart, and that made a lot of sense to me. And I like that. What do you think?
It is. Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna sound like I'm like 80 years old, but in the age of social media, I find it so interesting how informal that a lot of conversations are. And I think sometimes going the opposite route and taking that extra effort, it's truly like it's easy. This is also something, okay. Things that are easy that everyone can do, sometimes it's better to go that extra effort. And then, yeah, is it annoying sometimes to go the extra effort? Absolutely. But a DM is pretty, for lack of a better word, lazy, where it is so much more impactful if you were to then go to that person's website, see something, find their email, reach out and say, hey, I saw your post on Instagram and I really enjoyed XYZ. I just wanted to reach out, introduce myself, or, would love to jump on a 15-minute phone call to see, what other things we have in common or whatever. That, I guarantee you will be the only one doing that versus however many people are sending them a DM, because it's easy. It's the easy road is not always the best road or it's never the best road when you are trying to stand out amongst a sea of other people. So that's my thought about that.
Thank you. I really appreciate your insight. That is definitely a smart way to go about it. And it helps with understanding how to stand out, right? Because that's really tough. There are so many people, and to actually make meaningful conversation is becoming tougher and tougher because we're all oversaturated. And that oversaturation, just people only have so much time in a day. And why should they allot time to you? Like, that's really what it comes down to. So you've got to make something that's good. What is Yelly saying about huge influencers would email us when they wanted our product? They didn't DM us. It stands out so much more. And the other way around too was when we wanted to work with huge influencers, we had casual relationship building DMs that we were ready to go in for the sell we emailed.
Absolutely. DMs to me rarely, unless it's kind of more on a just, I don't want to say friend level, but it is. I mean, because I've definitely, especially like I DM'd a photographer that I actually ended up booking a shoot with for a client of mine, but it started in the DMs and then it goes to a phone call or to email. Never ever am I commenting publicly. Also, unless I'm saying like, love the outfit, I know that it is not a place. Yelly's laughing at me for saying that, but it's the public comments. I comment as if they're not going to see it. So if you are thinking that they're going to respond to you, you're going to stand out, like, babe, you're going to be waiting for a while. You have to know that, like, you have to be the person that approaches them, because if you're sitting back and waiting, and that's in sales always, if you're waiting for the sales to come to you, like, I mean, start knitting a sweater. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're going to be waiting, and you need to, generate that energy around you to bring the business to you. And what I say that is, like, do you have to be sitting at your desk doing 100 cold calls every day? No, but starting those conversations on Instagram and starting some of those, relationship building, messaging some people on LinkedIn, and not just, this is also, I can do a whole other thing about LinkedIn, but when you message someone on LinkedIn, or you connect with someone, and oftentimes it's, if I don't know them, I'm not going to accept it, or I'll just breeze over you, because it's kind of like, what's the point? Unless there's a meaningful message of, hey, I'd like to connect, and I saw XYZ, or I saw we have so-and-so in common. And sometimes it is like, I've done that where it's like, hey, I saw that we have so-and-so in common. How do you know this person? Or I don't know, just some other conversation starter. At the end of the day, also, I put more pressure on myself, but actually all of us, we are creatives. So if we cannot be creative in the method that we are going to reach out to someone, yeah, I mean, like, why are they going to think that I'm so creative that I can build up their own business? I think your outreach, truly, I look at every interaction. I don't want to use the word like test, but every interaction you have is an opportunity to show them why you are so amazing. So those things of, I like to challenge myself to think of like, what's something that I could do, even if it is just a message, what's a way that I could deliver that message that would make them stop and just think to themselves like, that was fun. That was clever. Those are my thoughts about that.
Yeah, I love that. And especially to make less interactions, but more meaningful. So I think that'll be my goal now. So not to hit a number, but to hit a feeling instead of like, wow, that was super meaningful, or like purposely researching people that are like dream clients or dream collaborators, and going after it in a way that's there's a focus on meeting, because that's really where you're going to make that lasting connection and impression and be able to be creative, because it's more easy, at least for me creatively, it's easier to do that if it does have that like spark of insight behind it, or like I'm really genuinely excited to talk to them, so the sparks will start flying internally for me, so the reach out will respond that way. And I think that that's really key. So uh I think Amit has a question. So after adding someone in LinkedIn, if he or she not responds the first invitation message, so how to approach them in next message?
So remind me again, on LinkedIn, you have to be connected with them in order to send a message, correct? Or can you message them without connecting with them?
You have to
Yeah, you
connect
can send an
first.
email if you pay for it. Yeah,
Oh,
it costs money if you want to barge in on somebody you don't know. It's kind
Well,
of like
so
a prostitute versus a relationship.
I know a lot about that.
And I'm not judging. I'm not judging anybody's career choice. No judgment here. Just
No,
saying.
with LinkedIn, it can be tricky in terms of the messages where sending a follow-up message is always an opportunity, but you do have to you have to go into it kind of knowing or building up the expectation that they probably won't respond. So then it's kind of a happy, like not a happy accident, but you just like, you haven't built your hopes up. So when they do respond, it is like, it feels amazing that you get a response just out of the blue. But I would also, this is where, circumvent the usual channel. You know their full name now. Go to, do they have a website? Do they have a personal blog? Do they have an Instagram? Do they have something else where if they're not answering on LinkedIn, like if they're not answering the front door, go to the back door type of thing. So, I mean, it also now in the age of COVID, I mean, I also sometimes, some might think it's like being a weirdo, but I'm a creep sometimes. Like the way that I go about reaching out to some people that I think others would be like, oh, I don't like, that's embarrassing. I have no shame. And to me, I think if I'm doing it in an approachable way, I will caveat this and say, never, ever, ever, this goes back to the pushy Patty. If you're getting the vibes or energy that it's not being received well, like you need to back off. But oftentimes if I'm getting some kind of like positive, signs, or like body language, then I go for it, where, this is something when I was living in New York. So it was like kind of easier that I'd be like out and about during the day. But if I was talking to someone like a client and we were just like playing phone tag, or we had a meeting that canceled this, I would then just, if I happened to be in the area of their office, I would stop by with like a cupcake or something. And most offices had a receptionist. So I would stop by and just be like, ask the receptionist completely unannounced, also going into, let me say, like, this is also, would I be nervous? Yeah, of course. I'm walking into a random person's office and like, I would feel like, okay, the worst thing that happens is what? They escort me out with security, but they're not going to do that. I'm showing up with a cupcake. So I would just stop in, say to the receptionist, hi, I just wanted to drop something off for so-and-so. Sometimes they would come out, and if we had never met before, they would come out sheepishly like, hello? I'd be like, hi, I was in the area and I was right by Magnolia Bakery. So I just wanted to drop off a little afternoon treat and say hi and introduce myself since we've been playing phone tag. So hope you have a great rest of your day. Floored. They would be like, who is this crazy girl that just showed up in my office and gave me a cupcake? But I will eat this cupcake and now I really like her. Things like that. Like it's, you've got to think outside the box. And I know I don't know how to like teach that. It's a really challenging thing, but that's where also like chatting with other people and kind of strategizing, hey, I was thinking about doing this. Like, what do you think? Doing those like kind of weird things are one of my favorite things ever to do. And actually I'll say there was, at my old company, we received randomly one day in the mail, a package, and it was a rose, like a chocolate rose, a handwritten like note and someone's resume. And it was a recent college graduate that had found our company website, wrote a note that, I saw your post about this and I just, I wanted to, I can't remember what he said, but at first we were like, oh my, what is this weird package that someone's sending us? And then once we read it and we looked him up and we were like, oh my God, like we ended up hiring him because we thought it was so like unique. And we were like, wow, we all of us respected him immediately of like, wow, way to shoot your shot, way to get our attention. And yeah, it was just so much more impactful than sending an email to say, hi, here's my resume. No. And he was interviewing for a designer position. So things like that really do go a long way.
Thank you. That was a great story. Thank you so much for your time. That was just so insightful. I've got the wheels turning now. It's I'm gonna have to brainstorm before I pack it in for the night because it's my mind's always going as well. And I think a lot of us felt that when you said that. There was a lot of kinship with in the chat. Just before you leave, look through the chat. There was some really great. It was awesome. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here. And if you want to rewatch it, it is on Facebook Live. So happy to have you watch it again, share it. If you know anyone that would benefit from this information, and, reach out to Arielle, have a LinkedIn connection, and also look at Bodega Bunnies as well and support their Instagram and all the different places that they are, because really great content. And this is what we're about. We're about empowering each other. So thank you so much. Do you have any closing comments?
Just thank you guys for, welcoming me with open arms. And, I love to hear what you said. There was so much kinship. It just reiterates more and more that I've found my tribe within the co. So it is, oh my God, Yelly is like, oh, no, but I told Ozzy the other day, we're working on a project, now 2 projects together, but just the teamwork and how all of us are working together. They're doing an amazing job. So it really just that, like, I'm beaming with pride as we're working together because it just feels so great to have these collective wins. So I just encourage everyone to just keep it up. Tell your friends, because I really just love what Yali and Drea have built. And I'm also, let it not be forgotten. Are you even a year old? Is the co even a year old? No, not even a year. that this was born out of COVID. And I think just the legs that it's grown is amazing. So thank you guys really for just providing the space. I'm so appreciative.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, this is so uplifting. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off.
Thank you.
Arielle. Such
Thank you.
an honor to have support.
Bye.
See everybody
Thanks, Arielle.
soon.
Bye all. Thank you for coming.
Have a great night. Bye.